Welcome, everybody, to Extra Time, driven by Continental on MLSsoccer.com, your official podcast. And you can watch us on YouTube. This is your final MLS is Back group stage podcast edition because we are moving to the knockout stages. This is where the big lights come on. And for you two, I just want you to know the Ballon d'Or will not be awarded by a French magazine, but I have my own trophy to give out. And both of you are winners in my books. Charlie Davis, Calen Carr, joining me for the guys. Are you so excited?
Dude, this guy just last week had Kai Kamara on and said he was the number one striker in extra time history.
Yeah,
I
remember.
For 15 minutes, a 15-minute appearance, and this guy gave him the crown. And now he wants to sweet talk us.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not taking the award either. I'm not
you
buying
guys
it.
are my two of my favorite attackers.
Okay.
In extra time history. Also, Calen, you're going to knock me for respecting Kai?
No.
See?
Respect.
Thank you. So don't come at me when I'm trying to throw some love on the man who's not getting enough respect.
You can still give him love without throwing out titles. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, or throwing us under the bus.
Exactly. That's all I'm going to say.
Listen, now that Ballon d'Or is in the balance because I don't know if I can give it to you if you guys won't come to the award ceremony and accept. So we'll discuss this later. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to come up. Kendall Waston's going to join from the FC Cincinnati squad that defeated the New York Red Bulls, got 6 points in the group stage. They are moving on to the knockouts. Their opponent is still to be determined later tonight, but it probably doesn't matter because this is a machine that is on a roll. So he's coming up in just a moment to bring us all that momentum. Maybe we'll steal some of his juice because I'm sure he had a good night.
I don't need it, but maybe someone else does, I have that momentum.
You're throwing shots and it's on me.
Hey, all I said is I have it. I have that momentum. I feel good. That's all I'm saying.
I think it was a shot at me, to be honest, because I've been on a stream for about 16 hours at this point. But
Calen, you no longer have to do an 11 a.m. stream.
Just like Adrian Heath says, they've already given Charlie the crown, whatever. But I'm gonna overcome.
Oh,
now you know what it feels like to be ninja on Twitch. Just 16-hour streams. Here you go.
Yeah, no shoot.
Don't worry. We'll get into Adrian Heath already complaining about us before we even knew who they matched up against in just a moment. But Calen, no more 11 a.m. streams for you because MLS Today presented by AT&T is moving to prime time on Saturday. Will come before every single day of knockout stage games presented by Audi. Susanna, Calen, Doyle, and Charlie will all be there to talk and bring you into each kickoff coming up because you guys, we've got 4 days of knockout games coming, 2 games every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It is going to be delicious. This, I think, is the meat of a tournament. I love the group stage, but when you roll right in and you're getting must-win, go-home games, 2 a day, that is always a beautiful part of every competition. Let's talk group stage before we move on. Dennis Molag at Cool Whip on Twitter wants to know, what was your biggest surprise of the first round? Calen, you seem to be locked in right now. Let's start with you.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, and we will speak to one of the central figures very soon. But FC Cincinnati, for me, has been the biggest surprise of the tournament. Let's start with this. They didn't have a manager for, I don't know, most of this quarantine. So while everyone else was doing Zoom calls and tactical sessions, I don't know, they were adrift. They were just out doing their own thing. Hopefully they had a strength coach passing along some workouts. But I tell you what, Jaap Stam shows up somehow, gets across, the ocean and shows up, trains his team for 20 minutes, goes out, loses the first match 4-0, and then makes a really smart choice, a sensible choice, and a confident one, actually. Because it's one thing, and there's a lot of pressure on managers, and we see this pretty much across Major League Soccer every preseason, which is kind of still the stage of things that a lot of these clubs are in. And everybody comes down and sits at the extra time set, and they all sit down and wine and dine, weeby and goss, and tell them about how they're going to play beautiful, expansive, elaborate football with intricate passing
Brad
patterns.
Friedel, we hardly knew ye.
Oh, boy.
Play it in behind and dynamic attacking pieces. And about a couple of weeks into preseason, and I've been on teams like this. I've been on teams in Chicago, and Carlos de los Cobos came in, and said we were going to enjoy your football and express yourself. And we went down to Mexico in preseason. We played Guadalajara. We played Club America. We played Necaxa, and we got destroyed. And all that immediately went out the window. And suddenly it was like, oh man, what are we going to do? And on the last game of the season, we played against Chivas USA in 2010. This was Brian McBride and CJ Brown's last game. I'm sorry for those guys to have to go out this way. We won the match, but before the match, we're both out of the playoffs. And De Los Cobos tells us, hey, Chivas is actually a very good team. And the way both of us play is really beautiful, is good soccer. It's proper. It's like the way to play. And I'm sitting there like my head is about to explode. Because we've been to 3 Eastern Conference finals in a row at this point, and suddenly this is not where we want to be. So my point, sorry, I had to kind of set that aside. But my point is that for a coach to come into a situation, lose 4-0 and understand the problems that are there and the roster that he has, to then within a matter of days set his team up in a way that makes a ton of sense, is pragmatic, and then trust his attacking players to make a difference when they get the opportunity. That's exactly what we've seen. So credit to FC Cincinnati. They've built the foundation, the building blocks moving forward. They've gotten more than I think they even expected from it, but not anything less than they deserved, and are rightfully going into the next round. So that's been the surprise and the pleasant surprise for me of the tournament so far.
Charlie, for you?
I have to agree. It's Group B, Cincinnati, back-to-back wins, Atlanta and New York Red Bull. No one expected them to compete after that 4-0 whooping. And like you said, you got a new coach, new philosophy, new tactics. Even if you do stay compact, we've seen teams who just defend and they don't defend well and they still give up goals. I didn't expect Cincinnati to not only defend, but be able to score and win games. And we knew what they have in Kubo. We knew what they have in Frankie Amaya, who I think has taken his game up a level. Joe Zhao, who showed potential, has gone through some injuries and is trying to work his way back. They're missing Jurgen Locadia. Imagine what's going to happen when he gets back on the field. That's a whole nother dynamic and makes them that much more dangerous to hit you on the counter, to play the way they're playing right now when you're defending. And then Harris Manjunjanin, who he's on the ball, we know what he can do with his left foot. When they're dropping deep like that, when you have a player who can spray the ball across the field wherever he chooses, that allows you to open up the field and hurt teams. Set pieces, he's dangerous on every set piece. So this Cincinnati team has blown everybody's mind because no one expected them to be able to put performances together and get results. So major kudos to Cincinnati, FC Cincinnati, and Jaap Stam and what he's been able to do. Obviously, the players are buying into his system and buying into what he says because he's proving, listen to me, and we'll go out and get results. Now you're seeing a team develop confidence and momentum heading into that knockout round, and that's the worst team to play against. A team that knows what they want to do, has an identity already. We're just going to defend and look to score on set pieces and counterattacks. And on top of that, we are playing with confidence. We have faith in our manager. We have faith in our team that we're going to go out and get 3 points. Those are always the scary teams to play against, a team that's coming in high on momentum.
Well, we're going to hear more about it.
Oh, sorry. The Medunjanin point is a good one because if you look at that first match, especially in how he's been used, that first match, if you look at the second goal that Columbus scores, he's chasing Nagby around like 40 yards, 50 yards from his goal, right? That is not the position where you want to see Medunjanin in and asked to cover that much ground. Now you see him kind of drop back underneath, keep everything in front. You get into that block of 4, block of 5 with 3 in front and 4 in front at times and keep it in front and kind of play from facilitate from there. So I think part of it is having to understand your personnel because yes, he's a really good piece for a team if used in the right way. And yeah, I hadn't even actually really considered the set piece, but yeah, it was a really good point from Chuck because if you look at the own goal, I think from Florian Velo, it's a dangerous whipped in ball from Medunjanin to cause that trouble.
FC Cincinnati, 6 points. We'll hear more about them from Kendall Waston in just a moment. My surprise has to be Ayo Akinola, second in the Golden Boot standings. We've never seen a guy fill in for Jozy since he's been at Toronto FC outside of Pozuelo as a false 9. Young guy, 5 goals it's been every game. It's not just one flash in the pan. So it's been impressive. Chris Mueller right behind him too for Golden Boot. So that's been fun to watch from those two guys as well.
Guys, I have to add a close second.
Oh man, Charlie
is DC United. You make a $5+ million player look like he's never been an international, that he's a rookie. Edison Flores is struggling to find the ball on this team. Julian Gressel looks as if he just came out of college. The frustration, barely touches the ball, barely impacting the game. These are big players in the league that have done incredible things with their previous teams. Ola Kamara is lucky to touch the ball twice in a game. Twice. You have all these attacking pieces. Of course, they're missing Paul Arriola, who will get up and down, who's busy, who adds a lot to the team. But you still have a lot of pieces to get goals, to be on the front foot, to get possession in the attacking half, to have some ideas. We've seen nothing from DC. Nada.
Is that the biggest disappointment? Though, I mean, over Red Bull, over Atlanta, NYCFC, some of these teams?
I mean, so here's Cincinnati, biggest surprise. Biggest surprise in the opposite way. It's DC and Atlanta for me right here. Those two have, and Orlando's another team that's pleasantly surprised a lot of teams being able to score and get through the group. At who picked Orlando to finish top of the group?
You're letting NYCFC off way too easy on that one as disappointments, but we will get there. We are going to break down the knockout stages. Charlie just had to get a negative one in early. He was sitting on a couple. I promised him they'd come later in the show. Didn't have DC penciled in. Charlie found his space. That's why he's a great striker. He finds the gap between the center backs, hits that negative ball into the top corner. I appreciate that. Before we get to Kendall Waston, you have another chance here. Kevin Anderson tweeted at us last week. He said, did we all sleep on Chicago? Responded to his own tweet today to Extra Time and said, maybe I spoke too soon. Chicago Fire, 2-0 loss to Vancouver. A draw would have gotten them through to the next round. Most likely a 1-goal loss would still have gotten them through to the next round. Now Chicago's going home. Vancouver is moving on. We'll talk about their potential matchups coming forward. Charlie, your opportunity to go into another team here. What do you make of Chicago after 3 games?
Just inconsistent, a work in progress. Rafa Vicky has the right ideas, but implementing those right ideas with the players that you have is another thing. And I think he's still trying to figure out Alaceda. That's the first time we've seen him get minutes, real minutes today. Mauricio Pineda has been stellar since he's come onto the scene. So it's a great draft pick to have or signing to have Pineda coming out of college. But Robert Beric shows his capabilities against Seattle in the goal again in the opening goal, but nothing since. And we just need to see more from Chicago Fire, and we haven't seen a consistent team. I know Calen loves the Chicago Fire being one of his former teams, and I just haven't gotten a good sense of this team being really competitive and hitting on all cylinders to challenge in the Eastern Conference yet.
I am more positive on Chicago coming out of this tournament. And look, I think they have some nice pieces. There's been so much change, as Chuck mentioned. But even look at the change that they've had to face while in this tournament, right? Like they came in, they had a game postponed, then they got switched groups. Then they go out and have this great result in their first match in the toughest game of the group against Seattle, and you think they're in good shape there. But even down to today, I thought the game was fully under control for them. They had the dominated possession. Beric had a good look that you would bet on him to finish it. He doesn't take his chance there. And then they have a freak weather intervention for like an hour in the middle. They come out in the dead of heat in the middle of the day and have to restart. And credit to Vancouver, because they also faced the same thing and could have just packed it in, especially with what they've also gone through in this tournament and the injuries and the absences and all that. But I think when you have to factor in some of the craziness that went around Chicago at the time. And I think they proved in the matches that I saw that they do have the pieces. They do have some really good personnel. I don't think it's all meshed together. I haven't seen CJ really and Beric combine the way that I think that they eventually can. But I think I've come away from Chicago. I know they'll be gutted by the way it all ended, but still some positive parts for me from where they have been in the past and where I think Vicky and this group is taking them going forward.
Well said by a former Fire player.
Well, he still owes CJ Brown and Brian
I called out
McBride.
Los Cobos. I'm not exactly always generous to some of the things in the past.
62% possession to Chicago, 25 shots today, no goals, so that wasn't generous to them either. But shout out to Marc Dos Santos and his team. They're missing their DP center forward. They're missing 4 or 5 starters back in Vancouver.
4 or 5 starters, because I'm getting confused.
Why?
How are we saying 4 or 5 starters?
Fine, 3 or 4. Does that make you happier?
No.
Andy Rose starting center back, Cavallini starting forward, Tosan Ricketts started up top as well against the Galaxy. If not, Freddie Montero would be a starter if those two were out. That's 4 or 5 starters.
Okay, I'll give you 3.
And Maxime Crépeau, who was not in this game but did come to Orlando, who is probably the Canadian goalkeeper now or after Borjan leaves. So boom, Charlie. Thanks, Chris, for that little bit of help there. Also, I messed up. Ayo Akinola is tied for the Golden Boot leader. So my surprise was great as well. I'm kind of killing it on all fronts so far throughout this show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marc Dos Santos, though, for getting his team through. Vancouver clinched their spot. They are moving on to the knockout stages. They will play either SKC or Toronto going forward.
What a world. Let's just pause on that. Vancouver is going to the knockout stages.
MLS is back, baby. MLS is back. And that's what we live for. Speaking of MLS is back, the insanity we have seen, but the amazing soccer we have watched as well. You guys both said your surprise of the tournament, FC Cincinnati. Let's go to their star center back for AT&T call to the field, Kendall Waston, who has to be feeling pretty good this afternoon. Kendall, thanks for joining us.
Everything's going well. You know, I always say winning brings happiness, so I'm really happy today.
6 points is pura vida as easy as it gets, right?
For sure. Very pura vida at this moment. Now we are in the next round where everything's going to be harder.
So what was last night like for you? Because, you know, a lot of people outside weren't picking you. You get the win, but you're still in the bubble. What's the experience like from start to finish?
It's a strange experience and a strange feeling because, you know, we want to win. We want to continue here. At the same time, family back home want to see us. So it's strange, you know, the feeling, because you don't know when you're going home and those things. But at this moment, we are sacrificing those things and just thinking to perform the best possible and trying to win and go ahead. We know that many people and even fans think like, okay, 3 games Cincinnati was going back home, but we are still here.
Persevering, playing well. You say fans, and you can also point that at us because I think a lot of the media didn't expect this. Coming out of the Columbus game, though, a 4-0 loss, did you think this was possible, and how has it happened?
Well, I believe strongly in the mentality and in the quality of the players that we have. We know that, well, it wasn't the best game of ours. So we just bounced back. We talked in the locker room and with the coaches the other days, like watching the videos to see what we was making good and bad and try to address it. I think like when we are in a good shape, being together, organized, is when we have more possibilities, you know, like locking the defensive line with the midfielders, being together. We feel very comfortable. So we try to improve in that way. And I think we got the results.
You mentioned you got the results, 4 goals against Columbus. You've not conceded now in 2 games against 2 of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. As a center back, as a guy right at the heart of that, and especially with the struggles sometimes defensively last year, how does it feel around you in the game in those 90 minutes?
Yes, it feels nice, you know, when they attack and they're trying to find any little gap or trying to see how they can score. And sometimes you feel it and you see their faces that they're getting desperate to just score, you know, as quick as possible. and it's a nice thing because I enjoy defending. I love defending. So like in this type of games, when you have a clean sheet, is huge for us.
You mentioned it. Yeah, I could see the smile on your face as Red Bulls kept pouring in crosses and you kept heading them away. You're playing under one of the greatest center backs in the history of the world in Jaap Stam. It's been just about a month or so, but what's it been like as a center back to work under him?
It's great because he also teach you some positioning on the field, depending on where the ball is, and give you some other tips of what he get from his experience as a football player, playing in top teams, and obviously like he bring us all that experience. So like I used to see him when he was in AC Milan and playing and tackling everyone. So he bring all of those thoughts to this club as well.
As a center back, he doesn't smile as much as you do. Is he warmer in person than he looked on TV?
Yes, he is warmer in person, but I think I smile even more out the field than on the field.
That is very true. You've got a lot to smile about right now. Part of that, you mentioned that shape, the connection to midfield has been Frankie Amaya, Caleb Stanko, and Harris Medunian. And what's it been like to work behind them and how they've really changed the shape of your midfield?
Yeah, those guys are running a lot. They are tackling. They are good with the ball as well. So they are doing a lot of that dirty and nice work for us. And it's a lot of credit for them as well because, as a midfielder, they like to have all the time the ball. But sometimes they understand that it's not the moment, and it's a moment of fight. It's a moment of battle and win those battles. So like you see sometimes Frankie, he's like 4 feet or 4 or 5, something like that, and he's jumping against other guys at 6'5", so he don't care. Everybody's fighting, and that is the mentality of the team.
Amaya is a guy who a lot of people are excited about, the goal against Atlanta, but just the way he plays for such a young player. What have you seen in his development? What do you see as his ceiling?
Yeah, the thing is that he is still improving every day, but the good thing is that he have an open mind to learn. He's like a sponge, a sponge to try to retain things to his benefit. And that is the best thing of him, and hopefully he can continue to improve because he's helping us a lot.
He's been good on the field. We heard he's been pretty good off the field for the team as well. Your hair's looking pretty clean. Is that a Frankie Amaya cut?
Fresh. Frankie fades.
How much does it take to trust him? He's new to the barber game. You trusted him?
I trust him because if he do any mistake, he know what is going after.
He's given about 4 feet up to you, so I don't think it'd be a fair fight in any stage. He's been awesome to watch. He's been fun. Yuya Kubo as well. I was talking to someone that said last year, even if you guys played this way defensively, maybe you didn't have that guy up top who could hit on the counter, who could score through himself. Kubo's first goal versus the Red Bulls, phenomenal individual play. What have you seen from him in training? What can he be in MLS?
Yeah, he have a lot of quality. His technique, his positioning, like he's a calm guy, but when he have to fight, he will fight. And I think like it's just he's adapting to the league as well, So I think with the games going on, he gonna get even better. And I think like not only him, like Brandon when he come in, Fatai, like all the players that are waiting in this moment that maybe they're not starting, they have a great thing for the team because they come fresh, they come to battle, and they come to give another energy that we needed in that moment when some players are tired. So I think it's a complement of everything right now.
One of the players who brought energy after that Columbus game was Andrew Gutman. His speed, his athleticism. What do you make of what he's brought to this team?
Yeah, he like to go forward a lot. He's a guy that is good technique as well. So like everybody's battling. Everybody know that we are fighting for our position as well because we're starting right now, but we know we have other teammates that are willing to play as well. So everybody have to show up.
It's been a chaotic year and a half at times being in FC Cincinnati, but now you have this stretch under Jaap Stam. What is the culture? What is the vibe? Who is FC Cincinnati?
Well, FC Cincinnati is a club that, or a team that is going to fight until the end. We know that we struggled a lot, especially last year, not winning and being in difficult moments. But even in that difficult moment, we're still working. And I always believe that sooner or later, you're going to get your credits.
For this team, how far can you go in this competition?
As far as we want, as far as we fight it for, because somebody may think it's luck. Many can think about that, but I think the luck doesn't come if you don't fight for it.
And for yourself, this is an odd competition. Of course, you mentioned it. You want to go home. You're there. It's a weird time in the world. But I'm curious, from your experience, you've been to a World Cup. You've been in Gold Cups. You've been in tournaments like this. What has the experience been so far?
It's great. It's great. You know, like fighting and making a lot of surprises, different teams that people didn't expect they was going to qualifying. The favorite teams are going home. So it's an interesting tournament at the moment. So like now we're just like, I'm just focusing like, okay, we got to see against who we're gonna play, but it doesn't matter who we're gonna play. We just have to keep with the same mentality and be stronger.
I want to ask you off the field, coming into this competition, huge talk around systemic racism and police violence in the United States. And of course, all of the riot protests that have been going on around the country. And one of the big things was the Black Players for Change in Major League Soccer coming together. Yeah. I believe you're the lone foreign-born player on the board. How did that come about, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's mean a lot, to be honest. I'm representing like the Latin players, you know, like so I can speak with the Latin players as well about different things about the coalition, how we are working and making different things, what it is about. And it represents a lot because even that I didn't born in the USA, I've been in difficult moments in my life of racism, you know, so I know what it feels like. And I just want a better future for my son, for the new generation, and even for us at this moment. So like we are fighting like how Justin, that he's the head of this, we are talking about like different type of things that we want, especially in the MLS, to have more of our Black people involved in good positions, you know, like just make it equal.
I'm curious we've spent a lot of time as a white person in America, especially over the last few weeks, learning about the Black experience in the United States. What is race? You know, what are the conversations around it? What's the experience in Costa Rica? What's it like being Black in Costa Rica?
Yeah, like I'm from the Caribbean part where the majority of the Black people is. So like when I was 15 years old and I have my first experience to go to the capital to live by myself, like I start to experience it there because the majority of the people wasn't Black, you know. So at that moment was even more like people that they see you, the typical that you walking in the sidewalk and they see you, so they switch the side because they feel that fear. We don't have the police brutality, but we have that, okay, they see you in a car, okay, they stop you because maybe they think you are a drug dealer or something like that. You know, so there's different type of situation, but at the end is the same thing.
As an outsider looking in at the U.S. and as you've said now experiencing it both in Vancouver and Canada and in Cincinnati, what do you hope for? What do you see, potential changes to our problems?
Yes, I think is everything starts from respect, having respect for each other. It doesn't matter if I don't have the same understanding or the same way of viewing things as you, but if I just respect you, we can avoid so many things. We can avoid many things, and hopefully this can make a change. Is almost really hard or impossible to have a change from next day, you know. But having a little change gonna make a big difference for the future.
We hope for a better future. We are glad to see you doing your thing out on the field, because when Kendall Waston's happy and smiling, I love interviewing you. I love having you on. And FC Cincinnati is fun to watch. So Pura Vida, continue enjoying that. Good luck in the next round, and thanks so much for joining us.
Always, my friend. I'm always here, open to speak with you guys. I'm always happy.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
FC Cincinnati, Pura Vida right now. They are living life for a franchise that hasn't had the best existence in a short time in Major League Soccer. A new manager, a big name in Jaap Stam, a couple designated players that they brought in playing well, especially in Yuya Kubo, and Kendall Waston enjoying his time with FC Cincinnati as they prepare for the knockout stage, because we are into the round of 16. Let's start breaking it down, guys. It starts Saturday, July 25th. 8 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2 and TSN. Orlando City, one of the pleasant surprises so far, winning their group in the MLS's back tournament down in Orlando. They will host Montreal, who it looked like was out up until the final few moments of their last game. And we've got Patrick Dubs on Twitter who says, if Impact Montreal has a shot at going deep in this tourney, what do you think they need to do? And what do you do with Bojan? Charlie, you've seen this team. You called one of their games against the Revs. What are the opportunities here for Montreal?
I think they have a good shot. I think it's all about building off of playing with Romel Kyoto into space. Bojan finally got an assist. Maybe this is what gets him going, because for Montreal to continue to have success and win games, they need Bojan to be a difference maker. And we haven't seen too much of him. He hasn't been as aggressive as we all hoped. He hasn't been as creative in the final third as Montreal needs him to be. So now after this assist, after getting out of the group when it seemed unlikely, hopefully this is the boost, the motivation to start playing the way Thierry Henry wants them to play and be a little bit more aggressive when they do have the ball. Now, when they don't have the ball, Thierry Henry wants them to defend, and he wants numbers behind the ball. And sometimes that's why people say, oh, they have 5 in the back. It's more like a 5-4-1. But with Thierry Henry, it's all about situational play. In the game, when you have possession, he wants ideas. He wants people going forward. And when you don't have the ball, that's the reaction he wants. He wants everyone to get behind the ball and defend as a team. So this Montreal team, when you think about what Cincinnati has been able to do when it comes to being defensive, being in good defensive blocks, sticking together, being compact, Montreal can do that. Now, can you have a little bit more in the final third? Can you be a little bit more proactive? And can you have Bojan be the connector between Romel Kyoto and goals?
Calen, on the flip side for Orlando, I mean, it was an awesome group stage for them. They're on a high, but they've now had to wait a little bit to get going once again. Can they continue? Let's look specifically at Montreal. Does it fit what they want to do? And can they continue going forward?
Yeah, I think so. I think Orlando will be the favorite in this match. They have so much momentum going throughout and finished top of the group. I thought the thing that I like about this Orlando side, and this is something you would never say about them in the past, is I think they are mentally tough. And if you look at the way that they have won games, has been late in games where they've been able to find results. And then even in the past, you'd always look at Orlando and you'd say, oh, well, something goes wrong and here we go again, would be the first thought you would have. And there's been such a shift now where Philly comes down and scores, and within a couple minutes, they come back and respond and get the goal back. So I think that's a huge difference that they've had, and a little bit of belief. And then the consistency of wide play. I think in this tournament, we have seen, I think wide play and speed has been kind of the more consistent forms of success that I've seen in tournaments, whether it's Jordan Morris, whether it's Elise, whether it is Rossi, some of these guys across the league, that's been a formula for success. And when I look at Montreal, I like the way Thierry Henry has built a foundation there, but whether it's Bojan or Kyoto, it's a little bit inconsistent for me as far as knowing what I know who's going to show up, or I know which side of the coin that's gonna turn. Whereas with Orlando, I don't question that, because I see Nani and I see Cash Mueller on the other side. So I think it's going to be a tight match, but I think Orlando would be, they should feel good about their chances going in.
So I'm putting it down in ink. Calen's picking Orlando. Done. Locked in. Charlie, you got to give a pick as well. I'll do it as well.
I'm going to go Montreal. I'm going to go with the upset. I think they got a little bit of hope now coming out of the group. They didn't expect it, I don't believe. They feel like, okay, now let's take a step in the right direction. We got our result. We got through the group stage. Now this is a team that is right for the picking, because Orlando, they're not a team that's going to put you away. They're not going to beat you 3-4-0. They're not going to score 3-4 goals. Shut down Nani, and that's the key. If you shut down Nani, you give yourself an opportunity, because Nani is the playmaker. Everything runs through Nani. If they can do that, they'll stand a good chance to get a result in this match.
The key for Montreal, for me, I think, is Tidare. I think when I looked at those pieces, and some of them are inconsistent, the one that I feel like I can fully count on is Tidare. And I know he had the long shot that kind of took the deflection, but he has been kind of the one piece that connects them from, being a sound defensive team to being able to get out and hurt teams in behind. So I think he'll be, for me, the player to watch.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with Orlando. I think that it's hard to pick against a team that has confidence and form right now. And Charlie, you mentioned they're not going to score a lot, but they scored 3 against Philly, was it? Sorry, NYCFC. And they scored 2 against Miami. So they've put some goals in, and it feels like for Montreal, it's going to be a struggle to get goals. But this is a fascinating game to start with, because you kind of get out of the group stage. You feel like you've learned a lot about these teams, but then you still look at how close a lot of the teams in MLS are. That goes to our next game on Saturday night, which is 10:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN and TSN. That one, the Philadelphia Union against the New England Revolution. Can we find on the radio anywhere, Charlie?
You can. Oh, Sirius XM, 98.5 the Sports Hub.
Oof, the hub.
The hub. This is an interesting game. I know both teams extremely well. New England has played in the second half against TFC. They were crisp passing. They dominated possession. They put Toronto on their heels. Very unlucky not to grab a goal and come away with 3 points. The second game against DC they were flat. Still created enough chances to get a result to get the 3 points. Didn't do it. In the first game against Montreal, all over Montreal, couldn't finish. This is the story for New England in the group stages. Can you score? You have Adam Buxa. You have Gustavo Bo. These guys can score goals. Adam Buxa was brought in to be that guy who's going to finish all the chances. And then Carlos Heel, the question mark with Carlos. He's had this foot injury. Is he going to be okay for this match? Because he's a difference maker. He's a best 11 player. He's one of the best midfielders in the league. He's in the same caliber as a Nico Lodero and Alejandro Pozuelo. What he does for the team, controls the tempo, set pieces, finds those soft spots in the defense between the lines. They need him on the field to have real success. But they did show there's a small flash with Diego Fagundes in that second half that he can fulfill the role needed to have to get wins, to create goals. So it's going to be coming down to the midfield battle with Philadelphia Union, because you have Alejandro Bedoya, you have Brandon Aronson, you have Jose Martinez, the new sitting midfielder, who's been stellar, I think, when he's played. Just a little bit of a hothead, but I think that'll come when he adjusts to the level of the league and how fast.
That's not changing, Chuck. That's not going anywhere.
I think that guy. I think he'll get used to it. And then Montero, they have just engines in that midfield, and it's all about second balls, because Philly will concede possession. It's all about the transition game. And if you can hit Philly and finish, and if Andre Blake's not on his A game, they are very, very vulnerable to the attack. So this game is going to be as close as it comes, I believe.
But that sounds in between. I mean, New England, come on, Chuck. I know you want to go that way.
If I had to choose, I'm going to go with New England. I do think they have enough to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. This is working out well.
I knew you were.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's better if we disagree. But I think the question marks around Carlos Hill would worry me. And I think he has been such an important player for them to be able to create opportunities, because otherwise I think a lot of it does just fall on Gustavo Bo. And if you only have to game plan for one, it's a different calculation. And I think the depth and the wealth of options from Philadelphia, to me, I think puts them over the top. And if you're going to talk about Andre Blake, he's been the best goalkeeper in the tournament so far. He has been fantastic. Who else you got up there? Throw something else. Throw somebody else out there.
Matt Turner. Matt Turner's been right there with them. And the funny thing about that is Matt Turner also has been getting interest from European suitors because he just recently acquired his Lithuanian passport. So now
sounds like a distraction.
Yeah, so now, or motivation to play at a higher level, knowing that there's all these European clubs sniffing around.
Yeah, well, that's actually not surprising. You're right, and I think Matt Turner is a name that we too often forget as far as a guy that should be mentioned around the top of the league. But I still go. I think this nice blend of youth and experience between Philadelphia. Brendan Aronson, I think, fantastic player and has been increasingly more involved. But sometimes that youth really helps, especially in a tournament like this, where it's like, I don't know, these guys aren't that far away from playing 9 a.m. games growing up. And I just think like that energy has really lifted them at times. And you look at that Philadelphia team, I think they have a lot of energy overall. They haven't put together a full 90 minutes performance yet, but they've still been able to find success. Yeah. And I think that is a good place to be in. There's a couple other teams like that. Toronto, I would say, has been in that same boat as well, where they just haven't had all their pieces back. Even we haven't even really seen what that team looks like. But Philly has their pieces, but we just haven't seen them really connect and gel all in one moment. So I think that's a worrying sign for other teams. And I'm still, I picked them going into the tournament, so I'm not going to back out now.
That's my point. I said Philly's not playing well. They're getting results, although they didn't against Orlando. And I think they're trending in the wrong direction, heading into a New England side who's trending in the right direction. Now, if Carlos Heel is on the field, does that change your mind at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would definitely change it as far as it changes the equation, but I'm not leaving my.
But Charlie, it sounds like he won't be, and if he is, how healthy is he? Because that's the other part.
If he's playing, he'll be well enough to change the game if he's on the field. Okay. He's not going to go out there and hobble, because that would just take away from the play of New England Revolution and covering the ground that you need to when you're playing against a Philadelphia Union side. That would just be detrimental. So I don't foresee him playing if he can't contribute. If he can play, my man's going to play.
What was Bruce Arena's quote? They said he's wearing a boot, so it can't be good.
Yeah, exactly. But would you choose youth over experience? Are you a youth over experience guy?
I think I like the blend. But I like a little bit of both.
So I agree with you, Calen, but also Philly won in the playoffs last year. And they've gotten performances without playing well, which is a veteran thing to do in this tournament so far. Yeah. So, yes, they're young.
Which got them through, yes.
Yeah, they're young, but they've shown that they can handle themselves in big moments. I mean, that wasn't a clean performance against the Red Bulls last year in the playoffs, but they were able to get through it and get over that hill and get to the next round.
Frankie Amaya is young. Brendan Aronson is not young. Like, this guy has been in matches of consequence and had a ton of minutes already under his belt and gone against the Red Bulls in the playoffs. And, same with Mark McKenzie. These guys have been kind of bloodied already and have a lot of experience under their belt, which is kind of the testament of this trust the process over years. And I think we've seen that continue to grow in their results year after year after year. But I think they still need to put it together but I don't think they're trending in the wrong way.
Tell me this is the most intriguing match of the first round of knockout.
I like this one. Yeah. I think this one might be one of the. Yeah. Two top strikers, two goalkeepers as well. Like we mentioned, very even there. But yeah, that's where I go down to depth, and that's where I think Philly maybe takes it. Ilsinho off the bench.
So we've got a Philly pick, we've got a Revs pick. I'm fascinated to see this Revs back line, especially the center backs, because Aronson doesn't play traditional. He likes to float wide. He likes to get on the side of the box. Bedoya can then come inside and create different overloads, different spaces. So I think Philly wins this game. I'm going to go with Calen once again. Charlie, you are on your own today. You are living on an island.
Hey, and it's a beautiful island. I
It's
know
gonna be
you guys,
that much sweeter when you're right twice in the first day.
let me know when you need me to dock your boat, okay?
Honestly,
Oh,
with
man.
Chuck's wine selection and being out at the Cape, like
Yeah.
I might sign up for whatever is going on over there.
It's a
So,
Captain Jack Sparrow
Goss,
situation.
I appreciate the company, but you might want to rethink that.
I got a text last night from my girlfriend from the other room that says, Charlie inspired me. Can you open a bottle of red wine? Just Charlie's out here doing his thing. I don't have a whole cellar though, Charlie. So it's a big deal for me to open one.
Yeah, it
those
looks good.
Those two games, Saturday, 8 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Great weekend of soccer. We move into Sunday. A little bit later on the times, you've got Toronto FC kicking off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on FS1 and TSN. We are still waiting to learn who they will play. If Houston wins tonight against the LA Galaxy, then Vancouver will play Toronto FC. If Houston ties or loses and the LA Galaxy don't win 5-0 or 6-0, it'll be against NYCFC, which I think is a massive difference between opponent. But Charlie, I want to start with Toronto specifically and just say we saw Jozy Altidore come off the bench in the final game of the group stage. First time he's appeared. One, what is the expectations of how much we see him? And then two, the Golden Boot leader, Ayo Akinola, has played that center forward spot. Can they play together? Do they even try to put them together? How does TFC make this all fit?
Well, one, I told Jozy after the game, whatever he's on, whatever weight lifting program he's on, he's looking like Maurice Adu. Like, my man, he's been doing too many curls, too many bicep curls, too much bench press. He looked huge up top. I don't know who's trying to compete with him in a 50-50 challenge or trying to, back into him. It's not happening.
He quarantined in Florida, Charlie. He needs that South Beach bod.
He was doing too many push-ups. I told he needs to lay off the push-ups. Two, I really liked the combination play between the two because Jozy, why I loved playing with Jozy, is a player who can take up two center backs with his strength alone, his hold-up play. And then when you make your run, he will find you because he allows your run to develop with the time he takes holding up the ball, and then he can play you in behind. And he's great at link-up plays, great with combining. And you throw in Pozuelo, a playmaker who can find both of you. It's a dangerous trio. And I hope Greg Vanney finds a way to put all three of them together on the field at the same time because that will be a very difficult offense to stop because you have both players who can – and Ayo can hold up the ball himself. So you throw that into the equation too. Ayo can hold up the ball, lay it off for Pozuelo, who can play Jozy, who loves to float off the back shoulder. It's a dynamic attack, and it does bring back some vibes of me and Jozy playing together. I know Matt Doyle tweeted that, but Ayo needs to be a better finisher with his left foot because right now I think you're going to start seeing defenders shift him to his left and force Ayo to score with his left foot because it hasn't looked clean. It hasn't looked sharp. When he comes to his right, obviously that's his dominant foot. He puts it on target. He finds the back of the net. On his left foot, he's struggled. So as of now, I think we're going to start to see a shift in how teams play Ayo Akinola and always forcing him to his left foot, and see if he can develop into being a clean finisher with his left foot.
I got to send him a highlight of a goal from Azteca 2009.
I was going to say,
tried to force my man left.
Right.
He still gets right and curls it to the far post. Stanky leg in the corner. You can't hold him down.
I thought he should have in that moment. He has the pace and I think just the understanding. The ball gets stuck underneath him. But if you're making that run a la Charlie Davies down that left flank and you're able to kind of cut it across and just set it up on that right foot, I thought that was an option that he should have taken. I think his touch just kind of got cut underneath him.
Calen, I wanted to bring up, though, because Charlie mentioned Pozuelo, and we're so excited about Akinola, but we had an unknown texter. Feel free to put your name or where you're coming from or a nickname, whatever, so that we can put it in the show, who said, how good has Pozuelo and Piatti been? That was a huge part. Pablo Piatti coming in as a DP, complete unknown, has been injured for about 2 years, and it was kind of a flyer. He needs to get his career back on track. Toronto felt like they were only a piece away from getting over the top after getting to MLS Cup last year, and Benazet wasn't going to come back. And they seem to be on the same wavelength, and that is another part of Akinola's success, has been the creativity of Piatti and Pozuelo.
Yeah, I think Piatti's looked good in moments. He's got a little bit of burst. It's not like over long distances, but he's got a change of pace. and you can see the quality of the left foot. But Pozuelo has really been the story. I mean, I think he has an assist. I think he has 5 assists now. He had 5 at least at 5 of the 6. I don't know where it stands now, but he's been fantastic. I mean, the way he connects with guys. Yeah, I mean, just the kind of understanding. He just puts the ball in the right place. And he makes it look easy. So yeah, when Io's had success, right? But a lot of that has come from just quality service, just putting guys in good spots where the run is recognized, number one, and is put right in the right time and right place. So we've seen that before with him and his connection with Altidore and how good they've been. So I agree. Like Chuck says, you add the 3 of those guys to the mix, and I think Io, while he is surely capable of coming back and checking to the ball, I think he prefers to check and go. I think that's kind of what he's looking to do and set you up, where sometimes I think Jozy, not always looking to get in behind. I think he's just ready to back you down, drop off, create a little space, facilitate. And I agree, underrated passer. I think he has been an underrated passer for a long time. Just the understanding, the intelligence, the first time ball, he's got the little lift. He can curl it over the center back's head. And you see those moving pieces starting to move around each other. I think they could make some defenders dizzy.
You know what? I just want to add, Piatti is a huge upgrade over Benazet. I mean, we've only seen a small sample size of what Piatti can do. So this is not a player who's in form and playing at his highest level. He's getting there, and that's got to be super encouraging for TFC players and the front office, for Ali Curtis to say, we were right in selecting Piatti, because he does have that burst of speed. He can change the game. He can finish. He can get behind defenders in 1v1 situations, and he can create for others. You throw in Piatti, Pozuelo, Akinola, Altidore.
That's the thing that stands out, is just when you look at when Victor Vasquez was there and you couldn't purely focus on Jozy, what he and Giovinco could do. And now you're starting to get in a world where if Piatti can perform this way, we haven't even seen Jonathan Osorio in this tournament, who's hurt. Jozy's only played 4 minutes. This could start to be a dangerous TFC team. As I said, they will face off against either NYCFC or Vancouver. So a Canadian rival or an Eastern Conference rival. It should be fun. Either way, the other game on Sunday will be SKC versus, and then still an opening. It'll be Houston if Houston wins and gets through. Otherwise, it'll be Vancouver. That'll be 11 p.m. Eastern time on FS1 and TSN. A lot of question marks still around this SKC team. Calen Carr is going to fall out on me in a little bit, so I want to get him in here quickly. He's going 0 battery. We're living on the 1% life right now. Calen for SKC. They get the result they need, an early goal in the final group stage game to get them started. It was probably one of the better 9 a.m. games we've seen, just in terms of the tenacity and the pop. There will be no more 9 a.m. games. So everyone, unfortunately, I enjoyed it, but I understand the players didn't as much. So they get to play late at night under the lights, as Charlie likes. Calen, going into a knockout game, whether it's Houston or Vancouver, Casey's going to be favorites. Do you like where they're at going into the knockouts?
I do. And I think Peter Vermees is underplaying his hand. I heard him come out and say that San Jose should be the favorite for the tournament. And I think he's intentionally leaving the Sporting Kansas City team a little bit under the radar. And I think if it wasn't for the red card to Melia, this team would be talked about more as far as favorites in the group. That was kind of a blip on the radar. And but I mean, look at Alan Pulido as well. He has been good, but I think he hasn't been good. He's been great, but I think he actually has room to be better. Mm-hmm. I think he's got 1 goal, but I think there's a ton more in him. And he has supercharged that lineup, because when you look on the wings, they've always had danger there. And you look at Johnny Russell and then Kyrie Shelton, who has come back and he's smashing volleys with his left foot to the far post, and always going to have that sort of pace to cause trouble in behind. But Pulido's the one that's changed the picture for me as far as taking this team from a team that is always dangerous and always going to be tough to play against, but to a team with a number 9 that's, I think, one of the top 5 strikers in the league. and can really hurt teams. So I think they may be underplaying. Nobody's really talking about them enough, but I think that they're a team that for sure has a chance to really go deep in this tournament.
Well, Charlie, we don't know who they're going to match up against, but either Houston or Vancouver, it's going to be the same game state, right? They're both going to sit deep. KC loves to possess the ball. They're going to get Jozy high up the field. They're going to get Martins high up the field. Either way, this seems to fit in for KC. They're going to be vulnerable on the counter because they have been all tournament. Houston can hit you that way. Vancouver's done it as well. But it just seems like it sets up with either team as a good matchup for KC.
It does. And one player that's really impressed me from Sporting Kansas City is Kyrie Shelton. And I guess you saw what he could do with New York City. And then he left and then went to KC and then he left for Europe. Since he's come back, he looks like a more mature player. He looks like he knows how to have success. His runs have been phenomenal. He's got great pace. I think that the intellect of the game, his tactical awareness has been spot on. Still, I think the finishing product can be a little bit better, but it's improved tremendously. I think he adds a lot to this Sporting Kansas City side because he can stretch defenses, he can cover back, he can recover, and he's good on the ball. He's calm on the ball. I think his first touch has gotten better. He's added a lot to this Sporting Kansas City attack, a dimension they didn't have prior to him coming back. So I think he's been a pleasant surprise for me for the Sporting Kansas City side, and it's all about adjusting to Polito, how he plays, how he runs, where he likes to get the ball, his tendencies. And I think that the team is kind of taken to him earlier than I thought. But he's a quality player. This is a player who's comfortable on the ball. When he gets his chance, he will finish, usually good technique. But they're too up and down for me right now. Defensively, it's not consistent. They're not – I can't say, you know what, I know what I'm going to get from Sporting Kansas City. Like they were in 2013, you knew, all right, Aurelian Calen, Matt Beasler, they're going to kick you. They one checks, one drops. They're on the same line together. You just knew what you were going to get from them every single match. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to get. Are they going to allow runners to go by? Or is someone going to get pulled out of space? We still see that too often. Maybe not as bad as it was last year, but still nowhere close to where it needs to be for them to be considered a top team in the Western Conference.
It'll be interesting to see. And the winner of this match for SKC versus whoever will play the winner of the Revs versus Philly matchup. So that should be interesting to see. On the Toronto side, fans, calm. They are on the same side of the bracket as Seattle Sounders. They cannot face Seattle in another final with an MLS name on it, at least not yet in 2020, but that could be a semifinal.
What do you guys think about
going
that?
forward?
What do you guys think about that? Part of me is kind of like, I thought like, all right, I'm still thinking East-West. So I'm not sure about if I'm liking the idea that like if San Jose is going to go to the final, they got to beat LAFC or they got to beat Seattle.
I like it.
Yeah.
I love the idea that it could be Toronto LAFC in a quarterfinal, and then one of those teams potentially playing Seattle in a semifinal. Like imagine Toronto had to play LAFC and Seattle just to get to a final. That'd be pretty wild. Although we know FC Cincinnati is going to beat all those teams, so I shouldn't have even brought it up that way. Let's move into Monday, which of course we are on Monday, but we don't always give you enough time to preview, so we're going to hit these now. We start out at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. FS1 and TSN, San Jose against RSL. You guys, I got to admit, I'm a Freddie Juarez fan. I liked his Real Monarchs teams, but I've liked what I've seen so far with RSL in this competition. Charlie, do they have an opportunity to knock off San Jose? Do they have an opportunity to go far?
They do, and one player that has been stellar is Aaron Herrera at right back.
Greg Berhalter. Calling Greg Berhalter.
Yes, easily. His skill on the ball, he can defend. But what's more impressive is, which every coach loves, an attacking right back who's comfortable on the ball in possession, a la U.S. Men's National Team, what Greg Berhalter wants from his right backs, someone who can control the ball, who's not afraid to be on the ball and is comfortable. That's Aaron Herrera. Plus, he has a good final ball. He has good delivery. He really impressed me in this last match, and I see them coming down the right flank and trying to provide service. The question for RSL is who's going to score the goals? Who's going to be is it Sam Johnson? Is it Krylak, we don't know. Albert Rusnak is supposedly going to be okay to get back for the knockout rounds, but that's yet to be seen. This RSL team, you just don't know what you're going to get going forward. You know what they're going to defend. They're going to work hard. Kyle Beckerman's as good as leader as you can have in this league, 21 seasons as a professional. But they're lacking that killer instinct. They don't have that player that's like, you know what, I'm going to put my team on my back. I'm going to score goals. Feed me the ball. They don't have that.
They've had structure defensively. KC was the first game they conceded off a corner kick a few seconds in, and then they weren't able to get the equalizer, but they continued to put together opportunities throughout that first half. On the flip side, Calen, your San Jose Earthquakes, this is the squad that you said you were going to ride to the end of this competition outside of Philly, so we know you're very excited about this one. How does San Jose match up against RSL?
So can we just start with that? Because I've been getting a lot of grief on Twitter for not believing in San Jose. It's not that I don't believe in San Jose. And it doesn't even matter what I think. These guys have done a great job. They've finished top of the group, and it's been well-deserved. They have a lot of momentum. I think they're the favorites in this match. I think pretty clear favorites against RSL, especially if Rusnak is not able to play, which I think is in serious question. And look, this Salt Lake team is tough, and I think they've proven in knockout competition that they generally step up to the plate. And I think Juarez has done a good job, especially organizing defensively. I think San Jose's mobility will cause trouble for Real Salt Lake. I think they're a really dynamic athletic team. They have a ton of depth that they've used to their advantage throughout the tournament. And they've got some spirit in the group that I think you really can't underrate. They love playing for Almeida. They believe in his system. Look, the parts where I actually questioned it was, you sent 10 men up on a corner kick in the 20th minute, and you've made it much harder on yourself than I think you needed to. But hey, look, it doesn't matter what I say, because when we had Chase Salinas on, he says, Almeida backed us. That's the way we play. We're okay with that risk. It's acceptable risk. And I guess, why is it okay when Bob Bradley says this is acceptable risk, but it's not okay when San Jose does? So I think that's just the way they're going to play.
Probably a supporter shield.
Well, yeah, that too. And when you have some of the other weapons around it. But,
yeah.
I'm trying to come around to it. That's not acceptable risk for me. If I were playing on the team, I would be furious if I was like, why are we taking this risk? But hey, that's the way they want to do it, and it's working for them. So I think they have a ton of momentum going for it. They've deserved to be top of the group, and they are clear favorites against Real Salt Lake. So I think they should win this match.
So you're putting your name on that?
Yeah, it's San Jose for sure.
Charlie?
Taking San Jose.
I'm taking San Jose as well.
Interesting.
Jackson Ewell and Judson have been incredible midfielders when it comes to really going box to box, being involved. Judson does all the hard work and trying to recover, as well as Jackson Ewell gets on the ball and distributes. They have good chemistry in the midfield, and up top has been kind of an experiment, whether it's Andy Rios, whether it's Chris Wondolowski. But I think they have enough to win this game. I think they're well situated to, be on the front foot in this game, push RSL, and I don't think RSL is as dangerous as needed to win this game.
Calen really meant it when he said he's leaving me and going to Charlie Island. I am picking RSL for this one. I think one of the things about San Jose that hurts teams is they change their own shape and the things they want to do because they're thrown off by what San Jose does. Anytime you watch a team play San Jose and a center back realizes they've got space and they dribble up to the opposing 18 and then freeze, that means that team has lost because they're lost in their own shape. Ymar did that for Seattle. We saw 10 teams do it last year against San Jose. I think that this is a RSL team that believes in what Freddie Juarez does. They're going to be structured defensively. They like to move that front three around a lot anyway, so they're going to be able to pick up spots and find the game. I think they're going to bring Toya inside a little and let Herrera play high up the field like he has when they've been good, whether it's Rusnak or not. I think this is an RSL team that's not going to lose who they are, even though they're a little confused or thrown off by the risks that San Jose takes, and I think they have enough to get through. So I am picking RSL.
Caleb looks dumbfounded. He's like, what is this man saying? Or
So
I
they
mean,
get-
or he's
If you're
thinking
going to
about,
pick against San Jose, pick against it. Look, I would pick against the reason why I have questions about San Jose is we're talking about that element of risk, right? And if they want to go and just go play that style the way they do, eventually you're going to come against a team like an LAFC or even I think a Houston or teams that have like real weapons on the wings that are going to leave you exposed.
See,
And we see.
sorry.
I don't
continue.
think RSL is that team though. I don't think they're that team where they're that team that's going to be able to go out and really capitalize on the risks that.
So I
San Jose's
disagree and
defense.
say this: if they're going to throw 10 men up for a corner kick, they're going to beat themselves over the course of 90 minutes once at least. If you don't do it first, that's the difference that I see against San Jose. San Jose is going to throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, take risks, do weird things. That's going to leave an opening for you if you take advantage. And Vancouver did. Vancouver just then didn't have the structure or the stability to hold it.
so you're saying
I think
Corey-
RSL
you're saying
has that.
You're saying Corey Baird is the key for RSL.
I don't think there is a key. I think that all of those pieces, when they've been good, aka versus Colorado and versus the Red Bull, and before we went on break, everyone was good. Everyone was on. Everyone was connecting. They have a fluidity to the way they play. Everton Luis
Everyone's got a structure till Wando and Shea Salinas come on and just punch you in the face.
Leo Salinas is a worry. Leo
Everton
Salinas
Luis-
is a worry.
Everton Luis has been phenomenal.
Hosting, they're bringing a lot of people off the bench.
He has been phenomenal. Everton has been great, but
I got to differentiate myself from Calen somehow. Otherwise, I'm just Calen part 2 on this show. I got reasons.
No, go
I
ahead.
believe
I respect your choice.
we're here for RSL.
I respect your thoughts.
Thank you, but not my decisions. The final game that Monday night is going to be 11 p.m. Eastern time, Seattle against either Portland or LAFC based off the result coming later tonight on FS1 or TSN. Delicious either way. You got a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals against LAFC, which was one of the great playoff series we've ever seen, or you've got Portland versus Seattle. I don't really have to say much more for you in a knockout competition.
Give it to me, Cascadia, knockout first round. Let's go.
Okay.
I want to see a Seattle LAFC rematch.
So now you guys are on the different side of which game you want to see, let alone which winner. Let's start here, Calen. You are so high on Seattle. You put them in there in your top 5 from the group stage. You are sold. You're getting a little bit of blowback on that as well. What have you seen from Seattle?
Well, I didn't say their top 5 performances from the group stage.
You said they're the best team in MLS as of yesterday.
You said before we got they were going to win, that they were the best team.
I was asked
in the group stage and the knockout
to pick 5 teams that I think can win MLS is back tournament, right? And if you're looking at to not include Seattle in the top 5 would just be ahistorical. It doesn't make any sense. And I think people are going to say, okay, well, they haven't had a good first round and they kind of look lifeless at times, but that's over now. So everyone's going to write off Seattle and say that they don't have the experience. These are the defending champs. And for me, the game that they struggled in the most was the Chicago match. And Jordan Morris was rested from that one because he was, I think, cramping from the first match. And so they were a little bit safe with him. But when you see in game 3 against Vancouver, how he turbocharges that team, it's a completely different picture, because then if you check to Rui Diaz and you play tight on him, which we saw, and he lays it off and then it goes to Ladero, then next thing you know, it's going over the top and you got Jordan Morris barreling down. So I think this team with their experience, I think they're going to grow into the tournament. They know what it is in a knockout round. They know what it's like to play in these types of environments. Well, maybe not in that heat and humidity. I do think that some teams struggle more than others, and Seattle, I don't think historically has done very well in that type of climate, but I think that experience for me is a reason why people are quick to write them off. And I don't understand why everyone keeps doing that. And now I'm the one taking heat on Twitter for putting them in my top 5 teams I think can win MLS Cup or win MLS is back. Sorry.
Calen, don't let the haters get to you. Don't listen to them. It's just noise. It's not real. It's not real at all. Well, we've got a lot to look forward to. Whatever the matchup is, whether it's Seattle LFC or Seattle Portland, it's going to be delicious. And that game on Thursday night is going to be awesome as well. That's our picks for what we know so far. We already have locked in Minnesota Columbus next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time as one of the matchups, and then waiting to see LAFC or Portland playing against Kendall Waston's FC Cincinnati right after that at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll preview those for you on Monday. We've got some incredible mailbag coming as well that we're going to get to there. Before we go away, though, we have a new name and a new crest in Major League Soccer. Charlotte FC announcing their name, revealing their crest on Wednesday, July 22nd. Charlie, you chatted with their president, Tom Glick. Give us a little bit of the lowdown.
They always knew that Charlotte FC was going to be the name, just because once they did submit 8 names for the fans to vote on, that was the overwhelming favorite. And he's well situated to have success from the start, just with his experience with New York City Football Club and what that took to be successful. He said, I asked him, what's the game plan as far as DPs? Everyone wants to know the club's motivation around designated players. Are they looking to spend on the big names in the game, kind of what New York City Football Club group did to start MLS when they brought in Lampard, Pirlo, and David Villa? Well, he said it's more of a mix. We're not going to commit to just youngsters, and we're not going to commit to the big names. I think it's got to be a blend, which I thought was the best answer he could have given me. So I think overall they get an extra year to prepare. He said they would have been ready for 2021, but now with an extra year to prepare, he feels very confident that they're going to have all their ducks in a row, that they're going to be ready to hit the ground running and have that foundation needed to have success right off the get-go. And I said, are you speaking to Atlanta United when you talk about new clubs coming in and having success? He said, I'm very close with Darren Eales and Tom Penn from LAFC. He's had a lot of conversations with them about what has worked for them, what hasn't. And I said, well, what else do you need when you have some of the best clubs? And he said, Seattle Sounders is another club that he really values how they have gone about their business and how they've had so much success coming into MLS. And that's a club that he admires. So he's going to really look to use all the inspiration he can to make Charlotte FC the best club that they can possibly be.
Looking forward to 2022. Of course, Austin coming online in 2021 and then 2023. Now we've got Sacramento and another MLS team in a city that, St. Louis. That was the name that I couldn't remember. There you go. Last one to close out on. Calen, David Wright in Tennessee says the best thing about the Columbus-Atlanta match was spotting Frankie Hayduct on the fan board, which the broadcasts have been putting up, so you can get on there. If you tweet, put out your video. Dude is always awesome. I want an episode of Extra Time devoted entirely to Frankie stories. I think we all agree, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's get that Frankie Hayduck love in there. We've got the knockouts coming up. The group stage is complete. MLS is back. It's going to be an interesting wrinkle in the stories that we tell of MLS going forward, and still a lot to be determined. Who's going to take that CCL spot? Who's going to get the money, and who's going to win it all? It's going to be exciting to watch. We will be back on Monday. And of course, you can see these two on MLS Today, on Saturday, on Twitter, or on MLSsoccer.com right before the kickoff Sunday as well. So you've got your pregame, you've got back-to-back games. Your weekend is set. You are welcome. Enjoy it. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great time.